Welcome, everyone. Am I audible? All right. It's really nice to be back at Habib and to see so many familiar faces today and members of the design community. I was really excited to hear that this conference was coming to Karachi. So thank you to the UX Pakistan team for having me here today. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Sehel Khandwala. I'm currently an associate partner and head of service design at Ideate Innovation. Ideate Innovation is a human-centered design firm based in Pakistan. We design products, experiences, and services guided by the belief that great design is built on great research. And we're really committed to building a more equitable world through design. Our work has spanned many different fields, including financial inclusion, tech innovation, agriculture, healthcare, and social protection. In today's talk, I'm going to be talking about the value of storytelling in design, and I'll be doing this through showcasing a project that we recently worked on at Ideate around sexual and reproductive health and gender-based violence. I will be discussing topics that might be sensitive or triggering for some individuals. Themes include physical and emotional abuse, domestic violence, and pregnancy complications. So if anyone does feel affected by these themes, please do take the necessary steps to prioritize your well-being. It's perfectly okay to step outside if you wish. So before I get into the details of the project, I wanted to start by telling a story. So this is Hina's story. Hina is a 31-year-old woman from Chupriyal, Swat. She has 2 daughters and lives with her in-laws. She is expecting another daughter, and it has been 6 months since she has been pregnant. Hina wants to go to the doctor for her 3rd checkup, but her husband isn't allowing her to go alone since no one at home is free to accompany her. Hina begs her husband to let her go, but her insisting makes her husband lose his temper and he starts hitting her. He hits her so much that she develops bruises all across her body. When her husband is gone, Hina feels pain in her abdomen. The fear grips her that something has happened to her baby. So many women like Hina are in need of accessing both sexual and reproductive health services as well as gender-based violence services. These 2 problems are often interlinked and related to each other. However, these services are often currently delivered through different providers due to various barriers, making them inaccessible to many people. And when women have to access these services in silos, it really fails to acknowledge the interconnected nature of their issues. So this results in incomplete care for individuals, missed opportunities for early intervention, a lack of holistic support, duplication of efforts and resources, and potential re-victimization and stigmatization. So a holistic and integrated approach to delivering these services actually ensures that individuals receive comprehensive and coordinated care. And this is the project that we were working on with the International Rescue Committee. They are an international NGO based in over 50 countries around the world. And we partnered with them to develop guidelines for what an integrated SRH and GBV service model could look like in Pakistan. What was particularly interesting about this project is that we took a storytelling-led approach. So before I jump into the details of what that looked like, I want to ask the audience what you think the value of using storytelling in design is. Feel free to shout out any answers if anyone has any thoughts. Build empathy? Yeah. Contextually relevant? Yeah. Anyone else? Humanizing experiences? Yeah.
Less feedback
Less feedback? Yeah, all of these make sense. And some of them mentioned by you guys. So storytelling helps to enhance empathy. As we all know, empathy is a core principle in design, and storytelling really helps enhance that because it allows for the creation of narratives that humanize users and makes their experiences more relatable. So by presenting powerful stories about the lives and experiences of different people, designers can actually foster a deeper understanding of their emotions and needs and the challenges that they face, ultimately leading to more empathetic and user-centered solutions. Storytelling is also really helpful in helping us understand collective experiences. Someone mentioned context. So it does that. It offers context by placing individual experiences within a broader narrative. So researchers and designers can gain insights into the environment, the culture, any social dynamics that influence collective experiences. And this contextual understanding is really helpful when it comes to designing solutions that meet the needs of a specific community or group of people. Design often involves solving complex problems. That's what we all do. And storytelling is a great tool for simplifying complexities. So it allows you to present complex problems in easier, more familiar formats, whether that's explaining what a user journey looks like, or explaining complex design processes, or the systemic nature of a problem, such as sexual reproductive health and gender-based violence. Storytelling makes information more digestible and more accessible. And lastly, this ultimately helps facilitate better buy-in from key stakeholders and decision makers. When someone is able to understand a problem more easily and empathize with that problem, decision makers are more likely to believe in that product or idea or solution and more likely to invest time and money in that. So, how did we use stories to carry out our research on this project? Firstly, we had 4 main research objectives. The first was to understand what the common drivers of seeking SRH and GBV-related support is for women. Secondly, it was to understand what the current experiences are like of accessing SRH and GBV services. Thirdly, we wanted to understand what the barriers women face when they seek SRH and GBV services, and more importantly, how might they overcome these barriers? And lastly, we wanted to understand what participants' needs are and what their preferences are for a potential integrated service model. So this was around preferences such as what is the ideal location where a service should be delivered? What are the ideal timings where clients feel like they would have the time to actually go and access those services? What is the environment? What does the physical space look like that enables a more comfortable experience for a woman accessing these services? What are the preferences for the type of service provider? Does their demographics or their behaviors play a role into how comfortable women feel? And what are the kind of costs that are more acceptable to clients and families in terms of incentivizing them to or motivating them to use a service? So keeping these research objectives in mind, we began our process by writing various stories that formed the basis of our research toolkit. Each of these stories covered different SRH and GBV-related themes, so including topics like menstruation, postpartum depression, sexually transmitted infections, marital rape, economic violence, child marriage, family planning, abortion. And many of these themes were linked to each other in some way, highlighting the cause and effect between different SRH and GBV issues. So we told these stories in 3 sites across Swat, in areas where there were women and girls safe spaces known as WGSS. These are safe spaces that were currently operating in those areas, and that's where we had access to individuals who were either current or potential users of SRH and GBV services. We engaged a total of 90 participants during this research. It spanned, I think, around 3 months across 3 different sites. And in each storytelling session, it was made up of a group of either married women or unmarried women, and these were cis women. And we also carried out individual interviews separately with trans women. So storytelling was a really powerful tool because it enabled the creation of a relaxed and collective environment for discussing such a challenging and sensitive topic. The stories that we told were about fictional characters, and it allowed us to probe into SRH and GBV related themes without getting participants to have to disclose any specific personal information about themselves. Instead, we were asking about their opinions on the characters in the story, the relationships between different characters, how the character might interact with health and legal services, for example. So to really ensure participant comfort and confidentiality, our emphasis was on gathering insights about the lives, needs, and experiences of women in their communities rather than focusing on everyone's individual stories. So we also developed other research tools to use in conjunction with our stories. For example, we had these illustrated emotion cards where we asked participants how to point at a certain emotion at which they think how they would feel or how people in their community might feel at different parts of the story. We had character traits and behavior, so things such as survivor or perpetrator, escalator, de-escalator. The participants were asked to identify who they perceive these people to be within the story. So that helps us understand people's perceptions on who they think is a survivor versus a perpetrator, or who they think is someone who might escalate a particular situation or conflict or de-escalate that. We asked participants to map the characters in the stories and also the services mentioned in the stories against this circle of trust. So they had to map them against characters they would trust a lot, somewhat trust, or not trust at all. And this allowed us to get insight into the reasons behind the people and places that people trust or distrust. And participants were asked to map characters from the stories against this matrix of influence. So we had different factors, including educational influence, social influence, emotional and financial influence. And this helped us, again, understand the different types of influence people might have over a woman's life and how they perceive those roles through the stories we were telling. So storytelling can also be an effective tool for when it comes to analyzing and synthesizing a huge amount of data. It allows you to reframe problems more simply and communicate lots of data points in a more tangible and memorable way. So here we used anecdotes and direct quotes from our research to present the current experience of women in Swat when accessing SRH and GBV support. We mapped these stories in the form of a user journey, which really helped to bring to life the experiences, motivations, and barriers that women face at different stages of this journey. And again, this was told through these direct quotes and these anecdotes that we pulled out. During our synthesis process, we also derived some key barriers that participants face when accessing SRH and GBV support. So these barriers include things such as mobility, shame, lack of permission, lack of family support, privacy issues, and confidentiality issues. And in order to ultimately provide recommendations for key characteristics of an integrated service, we combined our understanding of these barriers that we derived, as well as the current experiences that women and trans women have of accessing SRH and GBV care. And we turned all of that information into insights, which led to a prototype of a future service. So essentially, the end goal for our client was not to prescribe a particular model for an integrated service, but rather to use the prototype as a means to test and validate particular characteristics and preferences and sentiments around what women might want in an integrated SRH and GBV service. So the prototype was just a means to that end. And again, we use storytelling as a method to designing and testing this prototype. So what did that look like? We created new stories, this time of a fictional character accessing a service that offered both SRH and GBV related care at the same place. We used a storyboard format where we created illustrations, and the illustrations kind of highlighted the key events and the flow of the story. And the story had key ideas that we wanted to test and validate with our participants, such as the ideal location of a service, or maybe the characteristics of a healthcare professional, and potential workarounds for overcoming barriers such as privacy and shame. So whatever we learned through our research phase about the barriers that women face and the way that they might overcome them, as well as their preferences for such a service, we incorporated that into a future-facing service. Alongside the storyboard, we also developed these paper prototypes of key artifacts or key touch points within the service experience. So these included things such as a poster advertising the integrated service, a phone depicting an anonymous helpline idea. That's one idea we wanted to test, that would an anonymous helpline where women can find out more about such a service or just generally get support around SRH and GBV concerns, would an anonymous helpline work? So we created an artifact representing that idea. There was a registration form concept where, in order to overcome the barrier of shame, often what happens is we learned through our research that women, when they go to clinics or seek healthcare professionals, they can't even express the problems that they're there to address. So it's hard to even talk about it in a way that doesn't bring them shame. So this registration form idea was an idea where women are presented with easy to understand visual depictions or icons of different SRH and GBV related issues, and the patient or the woman is meant to just tick the issues that they're there for, rather than having to verbally communicate that to a receptionist, for example, which can be quite a challenging or shameful experience for some people. Another artifact was testing out the appointment wait time, so giving more transparency and visibility around how long do I actually have to wait before I'm seen, where am I in the queue. There were a lot of challenges and fears around people thinking that people jump the queue, not knowing how long they'll have to be at for a clinic, especially when you think of women who have childcare responsibilities and do not know how long they have to be at a place for. So this was a concept to bring more transparency and control to the waiting time. And then another idea was a clinic loyalty program card, so to incentivize health-seeking behaviors through a loyalty system where you could essentially get a free checkup if the more you go or the more you engage with that service. And that brings me to Hina's story. This time, Hina gets access to an integrated service that offers her holistic support for her SRH and GBV related issues. So Hina drops her children to school every morning. The school is a 20-minute walk away. When she arrived there, she spotted a poster that had facts and information about pregnancy and women's health. There was an anonymous helpline number at the bottom of the poster, and Hina noted it down. Through the poster, she also found out that there is a health clinic connected to the school. Unsure about the clinic, Hina went to her mother's home and asked her sister whether she knew about this service. Her sister Asiya commented that she knew someone who had had a consultation with the doctor there and that it went really well. They had a good experience. Feeling like this was her only hope to see if the baby was okay, Hina called the toll-free anonymous helpline to find out more about the service. The woman on the helpline told her that the clinic was offering services for GBV and SRH related issues and was open Monday to Friday from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. After being satisfied with the customer service through the helpline, Hina decided that she would visit the clinic after a few days. She realized that she didn't need to explicitly ask her husband for permission to go to the clinic because it was connected to the school. And the school was a location she could already go to because of her responsibility of dropping her children there. She did, however, ask her sister to come along with her because she was scared and shy about the new place. When Hina entered the clinic, she was greeted by a guard who welcomed her and directed her to the front desk. At the front desk, a male receptionist handed over a registration form and pen and asked her to circle the types of issues and problems which were relevant to her. The receptionist explained to Hina what each icon meant and assured her that this information will be confidential and will only be used to share with the doctor. Hina, sensitive about bringing shame to her family by disclosing that her husband had hit her, only marked pregnancy checkup as a relevant issue. After paying 500 rupees for the consultation, she then received a slip from the receptionist with a waitlist number. There was a screen in the clinic which showed which number was in process and the estimated waiting time. The waiting room was segregated by gender, with a separate waiting room for male attendants. There was a lot of natural light, shrubs, and greenery outside the window to maintain privacy, and calming neutral earth tones. The seats in the waiting room were comfortable and designed for all body sizes and abilities. There was also a TV in the room, along with a kid-friendly zone where children could play with toys while they waited for their mothers to be seen. There was clear signage and navigation about where different facilities were. While waiting for her turn, Hina's slip number showed up on the screen and her name was announced by the nurse. The nurse guided Hina and her sister into the doctor's private soundproof room. The doctor asked Asya, Hina's sister, to leave while she spoke to Hina. The nurse guided Asya to the waiting area. Dr. Zoha was a 35-year-old woman who spoke to Hina in Pashto. She first explained how whatever Hina would share in this room would be kept private and confidential, and reassured Hina that whatever is discussed will be safe with her. Dr. Zoha then referred to the form that Hina had filled out and asked Hina to explain what she's been going through. Hina explained that she was 6 months pregnant and she was late in getting her third checkup done. She told Dr. Zoha that she fell and bruised herself and was worried about the health of the baby. After a physical examination, Dr. Zoha asked Hina if she really fell, since the bruises looked like they'd been caused by someone else. She reassured Hina that in the case of any GBV, there was no obligation to get the police involved, and her duty as a doctor was to give the right healthcare to help her. Hina finally disclosed that her husband hit her. Dr. Zoha advised Hina to get an ultrasound and also prescribed medicines and painkillers. She also recommended blood tests, but gave the caveat that this test was not available at this clinic. The blood test was offered at another clinic nearby, which could be accessed through a free van service that took people there. Dr. Zoha then referred Hina to a caseworker and told her that she can see her immediately in the connecting room next door. Dr. Zoha explained that a caseworker is someone you could talk to about GBV or any issues you were facing at home. The caseworker was obligated to maintain your privacy and confidentiality and not disclose this information with anyone else. Finally, she told Hina that the clinic had a loyalty program where her fourth appointment would be free of cost. Hina went to the caseworker in the adjoined room. The caseworker read through the notes and asked Hina if she would like to talk about her relationship with her husband. She ensured Hina that everything discussed will be confidential, and her duty as a caseworker was to give Hina the right referrals to help her. Hina explained her situation, and the caseworker made notes. The caseworker gave Hina a pamphlet and explained that she can access various things that would support her with GBV care. There was legal aid, a police helpline number to call, a safe space where she could sign up for vocational classes to earn money for her own, apply for financial aid and get financial management advice. There were details of safe houses and shelters for women at risk. There was contact information of networks of women in her area who had similar experiences as Hina, whom she could get in touch with. And there was a mental health counselor available by appointment who could help Hina address the trauma she was enduring because of her husband's violent behavior. Hina agreed to sign up for an embroidery class held at the safe space and agreed to see the mental health counselor who sits at the clinic. The caseworker signed Hina up for the vocational classes and scheduled an appointment for her with the mental health counselor. Hina went home feeling much better about herself. She would get the ultrasound, blood tests, and painkillers in a few days, along with going for her mental health appointment. She was looking forward to her embroidery class. Thank you. And just to plug tomorrow's workshop, the Ideate Innovation team. Can I share the screen? The Ideate Innovation team will be running a workshop tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. If you're curious to learn more about storytelling or want to try your hand at putting this into practice, it's an extension of this talk, and you'll kind of get a hands-on go at applying some storytelling methods in design. So thank you so much.